Today we profile Harry Truman, aka Give 'em Hell Harry. He was the 34th Vice President of the United States. He was the 33rd President of the United States. He implemented the Marshall Plan and helped establish NATO. Harry S. Truman was born on May 8, 1884 in Lamar, Missouri, to John Anderson Truman and Martha Ellen Young Truman. Raised in a small town in the Midwest, Truman faced numerous challenges from an early age. His family struggled financially after his father's business failed, and Harry was often tasked with helping his family make ends meet. Despite these hardships, Truman was determined to receive an education. He attended public school in Independence, Missouri, and later attended Spalding's Commercial College, though he never graduated from a university. Truman worked in various jobs during his youth, including as a farmhand, clerk, and soldier before eventually deciding to pursue a career in public service. His early years were marked by a strong work ethic and a desire to make a difference in the world, even though his formal education was limited. He eventually developed a passion for history and politics, and it was this interest that guided him toward a political career. In 1905, Truman joined the Missouri National Guard, where he served as a second lieutenant in the artillery. His military service during World War I would later become a defining chapter in his life. Truman's service in France during the war, where he commanded an artillery unit, earned him recognition for his leadership and determination. He was promoted to captain and earned several decorations, including the French Croix de Guerre. His military experience gave him a strong sense of responsibility and an appreciation for the importance of duty and leadership. After returning from the war, Truman married Bess Wallace, opened a haberdashery, and entered politics. In 1922, he was elected as the judge of Jackson County, Missouri, a position he held until 1934. He was known for his honesty, hard work, and commitment to improving his community. Truman's success in local politics helped him build a reputation as a man of integrity, which would later prove crucial in his ascent to higher office. In 1934, Truman was elected to the U.S. Senate, where he quickly gained a reputation as a tireless advocate for government reform and efficiency. His support for New Deal programs under President Franklin Delano Roosevelt further solidified his standing within the Democratic Party. Truman's involvement in the Senate, including his chairmanship of the Truman Committee, which investigated waste and corruption in wartime defense contracts. His efforts in this role earned him national acclaim and proved his ability to take decisive action, qualities that would define his later presidency. Truman's rise to the presidency was both sudden and unexpected. In 1944, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt selected Truman as his running mate for the fourth term, largely due to Truman's reputation for his integrity and his strong support of Roosevelt's policies. Truman was chosen as vice president mainly because he was seen as a safe and moderate choice without the high-profile political baggage of other potential candidates. However, on April 12, 1945, tragedy struck when President Roosevelt died suddenly from a cerebral hemorrhage. Truman, who had only served as vice president for 82 days, was thrust into the presidency at a critical moment, at the height of World War II. This unexpected transition could have overwhelmed many, but Truman faced the challenge head-on, showing remarkable resilience and determination. Truman's first major decision as president came during the final stages of World War II. In July 1945, the U.S. had developed the atomic bomb under the secret Manhattan Project. Truman was informed of the bomb's existence shortly after assuming office, and he had to decide whether to use it against Japan to bring the war to a close. After much deliberation, Truman authorized the use of the atomic bombs on Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, leaving 105,000 dead. The bombings led to Japan's surrender and the end of World War II, but the decision remains one of the most controversial actions in U.S. history. Truman defended the use of the bombs, believing they were necessary to end the war quickly and save hundreds of thousands of young lives that would have been lost in a protracted invasion of Japan. Truman's leadership during the final stages of the war marked a significant turning point in world history as the United States emerged as the preeminent global superpower with the possession of nuclear weapons. Following the war, Truman faced the daunting task of rebuilding Europe and managing the shifting dynamics of global politics. One of his most significant achievements was the Marshall Plan, a massive economic aid program designed to help rebuild Western Europe after the devastation of the war. The plan not only helped to stabilize Europe, but also served as a strategic measure to prevent the spread of communism, which was gaining traction in Eastern Europe. At the same time, Truman grappled with the emerging Cold War, a geopolitical struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Truman Doctrine, announced in 1947, marked the beginning of U.S. containment policy, pledging American support to nations threatened by communism. Truman's decision to support Greece and Turkey in their fight against communist insurgents marked the first significant American intervention in the Cold War. He won the 1948 presidential race, defeating Thomas Dewey. The defining image of the campaign came after Election Day, when an ecstatic Truman held aloft the erroneous front page of the Chicago Tribune with a huge headline proclaiming, "Dewey defeats Truman." In 1950, Truman faced another critical test when North Korean forces, backed by the Soviet Union and China, invaded South Korea. Truman committed U.S. forces to defend South Korea under the auspices of the United Nations, marking the beginning of the Korean War. The war ended in 1953 after Truman's presidency, with the Korean Peninsula divided along the 38th parallel. But it set the stage for continued U.S. involvement in global conflicts during the Cold War. On the domestic front, Truman's presidency was marked by efforts to expand social programs and civil rights. He desegregated the U.S. military in 1948 and supported civil rights legislation, though his efforts were often blocked by Congress. Truman also championed the Fair Deal, a domestic policy agenda aimed at expanding New Deal programs, though only parts of it were enacted due to opposition from Congress. After leaving the White House in 1953, Truman retired to Independence, Missouri. His post-presidential years were marked by his ongoing commitment to public service and his candid reflections on his time in office.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the
He became an outspoken critic of his successors, particularly the Vietnam War, and continued to defend his presidency's decisions. Truman died on December 26, 1972, at the age of 88. His legacy has evolved over time, with many historians acknowledging him as a decisive and pragmatic leader who made difficult choices during critical moments in history. Truman's unpretentious demeanor, his commitment to public service, and his ability to make bold decisions in the face of adversity have ensured his place as one of the most respected figures in American history. Here are some quotes by Harry Truman. "The buck stops here," a phrase that Truman kept on his desk, symbolizing that the responsibility for decisions rested with him. "It is amazing what you can achieve if you do not care who gets the credit." "I never did give them hell. I just told the truth and they thought it was hell." "If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen." A pessimist is one who makes difficulties of his opportunities. An optimist is one who makes opportunities of his difficulties. In reading the lives of great men, I found that the first victory they won was over themselves. Self-discipline with all of them came first. Here is a letter President Truman wrote to Mr. Fleming, January 28, 1953. "Dear Mr. Fleming, your customer with no visible means of support is returning the cards signed as requested. Sorry I overlooked that detail. Am having a mail and baggage shower. Between 40 and 50,000 letters are piled up in my new office at 1107 Federal Reserve Bank Building, Kansas City, Missouri. And there are enough bags, trunks, boxes, and junk to go into the secondhand business in the garage, on the back porch, and in all 14 rooms here at home. Will take months to dig out. If I'd known it would be so much trouble, I'd have stayed in the White House. Thanks for all your courtesies. Sincerely, Harry Truman." To Honorable Robert F. Fleming, President, Riggs National Bank, Washington, D.C. Harry S. Truman, the 33rd President of the United States, is remembered for his forthrightness, integrity, and decisive leadership during some of the most pivotal moments in modern history. From his humble beginnings to his years in the White House, Truman's legacy reflects both the challenges of his time and his ability to confront them with resolute courage. That's the story of Harry Truman. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy these messages of inspiration and hope, please like, subscribe, and or share them with family and friends. And until we meet again, please remember, with God, anything is possible. Spohom.